today. What are you afraid of? This is your Monday morning moment where our goal each week is to provide you with a strong, positive message of faith designed to help get your week off to a great start. And you know what? I just threw you a little bit of a curveball with a really funky question. What are you afraid of? Could be lots of things. But here's one thing that I think most of us at some point are afraid of. We're all afraid of one day being irrelevant or not of much use. Now, you millennials who I like to speak to, you may feel that way at times, depending on your situation, but I can tell you, those of you in my age group, that starts to creep in as we get to the back nine of our lives, and you worry about, will I be of much use to anybody? So, got to tell you that today's message was inspired by yesterday's sermon by Father Andy Buchanan at Galilee Episcopal Church, and I had been toying with this concept for a while, didn't know how to tie it together. Then he preached on the book of Joshua, and it brought it all into focus. So thanks, Father Andy, for bringing that into focus. And some of you, many of you, myself included, you may have heard of Joshua. It's one of the early books of the Old Testament, but not sure who or what he was all about. Well, everybody remembers Moses, right? Well, Moses finally did die, and God chose Joshua, Moses' assistant, to take over leading the Israelites to the promised land. So the first half of the book of Joshua pretty much talks about that process. But starting with chapter 13, things start to change a little bit. And as Joshua gets older, he transitioned more from being a leader to more of an inspiration, a visionary, and an encourager. So how was he able to do that? How did that happen? Well, this brings us to today's gold nugget Bible verse. It's a short one, but it's huge. Joshua chapter 13, verse 1. Now, I want you to listen to this very closely, okay? When Joshua had grown old, the Lord said to him, "You are now very old, and there are still very large areas of land to be taken over." Now, we read something like that and we go, man, the Lord was kind of dinging Joshua for being an old guy. But, thanks to Father Andy's explanation, that's very far from what it actually means. So here's what God was saying to Joshua, and I think to all of us also. God's message was, you may be older now, but you now have the perspective of life that you didn't have, you couldn't have when you were younger. And oh, by the way, there's still plenty of work to be done. So actually, God was complimenting Joshua by saying, now that you're older, you're much wiser, you get it. So you can actually be an encourager, you can be an inspiration, you can be a visionary. Now, many of you know that I love the quote from the ancient philosopher Cicero that says, "Not to know what happened before you were born is to be forever a child." Those of you that had me in 10th grade history, yeah, you still have nightmares about that. But here's the bottom line. If you're blessed enough to reach the back nine of life, which is where my generation is, what I like to say, then you realize that the future is really behind you. Now think about that for a second and what that means. Yeah, we don't know much about what's happening in the future, but we sure know what's happened in the past, and we can help. You can use that to help us in the future. So here's the message I want to leave you with today. Use the perspective you've gained from all your life experiences to encourage and mentor others. And it doesn't make any difference how old you are or how young you are. Use your life experiences to encourage and mentor others. And if you can do that, you will never, ever have to worry about being relevant. You'll always be relevant and of some use. All right, friends and neighbors, that's a wrap. There's more on the video blog, which will be up Wednesday. A lot more depth to what we were just talking about, a little more about Joshua, interesting guy. And I hope you'll tune in on Wednesday. A couple other notes. We're going live every Wednesday and Friday. We're changing the time from noon to 12:15. And that's because nobody's ever on time. And 12:15 seems to be a better time. So tune in then also. And as always, may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times in every way. The Lord be with all of you. Thanks again. Stay strong. Keep the faith. We'll see you right back here next Monday.